Welcome back. Today we uncover one of the most shocking naval disasters of World War II, the story of Shinano, the secret giant of the Imperial Japanese Navy, and how she was destroyed before she ever fired a shot. This is the tale of the world's largest aircraft carrier that was sunk on her very first voyage. Shinano was born from tragedy. She began life as the third super battleship of the Yamato-class, designed to carry 18-inch guns and dominate the Pacific. But after the carrier losses at Midway, Japan changed her destiny. Her unfinished hull was converted into the largest aircraft carrier of the war, capable of carrying over 100 planes, bristling with anti-aircraft guns, and armored like no other. She was meant to be untouchable, a fortress at sea. But Shinano was rushed. Construction was secret, workers raced to finish her, and she was sent to sea in November 1944 without proper trials, with watertight compartments unfinished, and even without a fully trained crew. Her mission was to sail quietly from Yokosuka to Kure for fitting out, under the cover of night. Lurking in the waters off Japan, however, was USS Archerfish, a lone American submarine commanded by Commander Joseph Enright. On the night of November 28th, radar picked up a massive target, too large to be anything but a capital ship. Enright tracked her through the darkness, maneuvering into perfect firing position. At 3:17 a.m., Archerfish fired 6 torpedoes. 4 slammed into Shinano's starboard side. Explosions ripped through her hull. Flooding spread rapidly, worsened by unfinished watertight doors and inexperienced crew who failed to contain it. The giant carrier began to list. For hours she struggled, her pumps overwhelmed, compartments flooding faster than men could seal them. Panic spread as damage control failed. By 10 a.m., the pride of the Japanese fleet rolled onto her side, capsized, and sank beneath the waves, less than 24 hours after leaving port. Over 1,400 men went down with her. Shinano had been the largest warship ever sunk by a submarine, a disaster that stunned Japan and remained hidden from the world until after the war. For the United States, it was a triumph of skill and luck, one submarine destroying a vessel of unprecedented size. The fate of Shinano became a symbol. No matter how powerful, no ship is invincible if it sails unready. She was a fortress that never fought, a giant whose first voyage became her last. Commander Joseph Enright had waited his entire career for this chance. For weeks, USS Archerfish had been patrolling with little success. Then, on the night of November 28, 1944, his radar operator called out. A massive contact was moving south along the Japanese coast. At first, Enright thought it might be a battleship or even a decoy. But as his periscope revealed the outline of an enormous carrier escorted by destroyers, he knew this was the target of a lifetime. The chase lasted hours. Shinano zigzagged across the dark sea, screened by 4 destroyers. Enright shadowed at the edge of detection, his crew tense, every man knowing that one mistake could bring depth charges raining down. Slowly, through patience and skill, he maneuvered Archerfish into firing position. At 3:17 a.m., Enright gave the order. 6 torpedoes left the tubes, streaking through the black water. The crew held their breath. Then came the explosions, 4 direct hits, smashing into Shinano's starboard side with devastating force. A thunderous roar echoed across the sea as the giant carrier shuddered from the blows. On Shinano, chaos erupted. Compartments flooded instantly. Bulkheads cracked. But the real disaster came from her unfinished state. Watertight doors were incomplete, pumps untested, and the crew inexperienced in damage control. Instead of sealing the flooding, water rushed through the ship. Within minutes, she was listing dangerously. Enright pulled Archerfish deep, bracing for retaliation. But the destroyers never found him. They rushed to save Shinano instead, unaware that the wound was already fatal. For 7 agonizing hours, the carrier fought to survive. Engineers worked desperately to right her, but every attempt failed. The flooding spread faster than men could respond. By dawn, her list grew uncontrollable. At 10:18 a.m., Shinano rolled to her side, her enormous bulk sliding beneath the waves. In the silence that followed, the sea swallowed Japan's secret weapon before it ever reached battle. Enright surfaced later to hear the distant echoes of the disaster. He had done what no submarine commander in history had achieved, sinking the largest warship ever sent to sea. For Archerfish, it was a triumph. For Japan, it was a humiliation so great that news of Shinano's loss was kept secret until after the war. Shinano was gone, undone not by grand battle, but by haste, inexperience, and a single submarine's patient hunt. The sinking of Shinano was more than the loss of a ship, it was the collapse of a dream. She had been built in secrecy, intended as Japan's answer to Midway, a fortress carrier that could shield the empire from the growing tide of American power. Instead, she sailed unfinished, untested, and unready, and in less than a day, she vanished beneath the waves. For the Japanese Navy, it was a crushing blow. Shinano represented not just steel and firepower, but hope that a single supership could turn the tide. Her destruction proved the opposite. No matter how large or powerful, no warship was invincible. And worse, her loss came at a time when Japan could not afford another failure. By late 1944, the Empire's navy was already crippled, its carriers sunk, its fuel reserves dwindling. The ocean that once promised domination had become a graveyard. For the Americans, it was a story of patience, skill, and opportunity. Commander Joseph Enright and his crew of Archerfish had faced the mightiest target any submarine could dream of. With calm precision, they turned that chance into history. One submarine, lying in wait, had destroyed the world's largest carrier, a feat never repeated. The tale of Shinano became a symbol of the wider war. Japan's strategy of building superweapons could not match America's vast industry, which produced carriers by the dozen. While Japan gambled on giants, the United States flooded the seas with fleets of escort carriers, destroyers, and submarines. In the end, quantity, training, and preparation crushed the illusion of invincibility. Today, the wreck of Shinano rests in the depths of Japan, a silent monument to ambition undone by haste. She never launched a plane, never fought a battle, and yet her fate speaks volumes about the Pacific War. She was the largest warship ever sunk by a submarine, and the greatest reminder that in war, even the strongest steel cannot save a fleet already broken. The story of Shinano endures as one of the most haunting naval tragedies of World War II, a giant conceived in secrecy, launched with hope, and lost in a single night. After Shinano's death, silence fell over Japan. The loss was considered so humiliating that it was hidden even from much of the Japanese Navy. Survivors were ordered to keep quiet. Officially, she had never existed, and her wreck would remain a secret until after the war. To the Japanese people, Shinano was a phantom, whispered about but never acknowledged, a ghost ship erased from records. For the men of Archerfish, the victory was surreal. They had no idea at first what they had sunk. Only after the war did Enright learn that his torpedoes had destroyed the largest carrier in the world. In the annals of submarine warfare, it was a record without equal. 6 torpedoes from a single submarine had ended the life of a 70,000-ton giant. Shinano's story is also one of irony. She had been built as a symbol of invincibility, her vast armor and size meant to protect her from the very threat that killed her. Yet those defenses were meaningless because she was sent out unready. Her watertight compartments were incomplete, her pumps untested, and her crew barely trained. In rushing her to sea, Japan doomed her before she could even be fitted for battle. Her loss underscored the desperation of the late war. By 1944, Japan was throwing half-finished warships into the ocean, hoping sheer size might hold back a rising tide. But no warship, however massive, could survive against superior training, planning, and technology. Today, Shinano's wreck still lies undiscovered in the depths off Japan, untouched, a hidden tomb for the men who went down with her. She remains both the largest warship ever sunk by a submarine and a monument to the futility of giant war machines in a war already lost. The story of Shinano is more than the sinking of a ship. It is the story of hubris and haste, of secrecy and failure, and of a navy that gambled on one last giant, only to see her vanish in a single night. And so Shinano's story closes as both a marvel and a tragedy. Conceived as a battleship to rival any on Earth, reborn as the largest aircraft carrier of its age, she never fulfilled her purpose. Instead, she became a symbol of how far Japan had fallen by late 1944. Desperate, rushing unready giants into the sea, hoping for miracles in a war already lost. Her end revealed a deeper truth: size alone cannot guarantee survival. Shinano carried more armor than any other carrier, but without discipline, preparation, and readiness, she was as vulnerable as the smallest freighter. 4 torpedoes from a single submarine proved that decisively. In the contest between a colossal warship and a patient hunter beneath the waves, it was the hunter that triumphed. For the men who died aboard her, Shinano remains a silent tomb resting in the Pacific depths. For the men of Archerfish, her destruction was a reminder that sometimes a single strike can change history. Commander Enright went from frustration at a fruitless patrol to the record books in one night. His torpedoes sank not only a ship, but also a piece of Japan's fading hope. Today, Shinano is remembered less for what she was meant to be, and more for what she became: the largest warship ever lost at sea, the fortress that never fought, and the ghost of a navy that could no longer escape its fate. Her story endures as one of the most haunting lessons of the Pacific War: that power without readiness is weakness, that speed without preparation is ruin, and that even giants can fall in silence, claimed by the ocean before they ever fire a shot.